going with Natima too. I like Natima. Natima, the real name of the character Besa. I'm just gonna go with Natima because unlike Besa, there's not two vowels right next to each other. That makes words difficult to pronounce. So my girl Natima is chatting it up with T'Challa, and he was the guy who we want him to be. He was like the inspector, the guy who knows everything. He knows your name. He also knows what you've been doing, and he figured out that you've got this vibranium that is architected in the old style, but it's right. Like that was so genius, and that was so very T'Challa. When he's off panels, he's actually doing some detective work, and they just gave it to us right here. Like, oh, I know who you are. So that was an incredible showing.
I love that line also because it reminds the audience that T'Challa's mad smart.
Yeah,
he's a scientist.
Exactly.
He could look at vibranium and tell you where it comes from and how it's manufactured. Something that the last writer, I will never say his name again, Lord Voldemort, was not capable of doing.
This version of T'Challa is the way T'Challa is supposed to be written.
Exactly.
Confident
and the
prepared.
way the way that people respond to him is how he's supposed to be responded to, because he was the monarch of Wakanda for in their time at least 15 years at a bare minimum. People revere their monarchs, no matter what they say. He is their celebrity. He is their king. During the previous run in issue 1 or 2, you had one of his former subjects saying "F you" to T'Challa to his face. And I don't care what you say, nobody would really do that. There would be nobody who would go to King Charles, no matter what they think about him, and say "F you, King Charles." You know what I'm saying? And then when you know the sacrifices that T'Challa made, not only for the world, but specifically for his country, no matter what issues you may have with him, none of his subjects would sit up here and say "F you." But the reverence that the characters in this book are showing to him is how it's supposed to be, and I really enjoy that aspect.
They say Baba Nikisu is not just a crime boss; he's a daimyo. That comes to mind, and that's a Japanese word. Are we okay with Wakandans using Japanese lingo? I'm okay with that one. I'll let that one slip. I just don't like
they're super smart.
Exactly.
Oh,
so they understand
their
cultural
knowledge. They're using different. Okay, yeah, see there.
Culturally aware about everybody.
Nothing but studying and knowledge and learning.
I mean, think about Black Panther 1. They're actually speaking Korean, so they are intelligent, educated people.
We're the only ones by and large that don't want to be bilingual or convert to the metric system.
So that's not the influence of a different foreign land changing the way Wakandans speak. That wasn't that.
No, that's being worldly and recognizing that you should learn about other cultures and language beyond your own borders.
Okay, exactly. but then how about this issue here where she says, the pot calling the kettle black? Instead it says the panther calling the kettle black. Now that's an English-speaking person saying that she sort of Wakandanized it, and that I'm not okay with.
I'll let it slide. In the vernacular, it's kind of common to know basically what you're saying. You're being hypocritical here. So I let that slide. I would take an issue with that.
It's not like the last one where he literally used westernized terms, colloquialisms, consistently throughout the entire book.
You're right. Hey, Steve Staranka's in the building, as well as Zang Beto. Mike from Rogue Comics and Spoiler Kings are all watching here on the live stream here. The numbers.
I also didn't have a problem, I gotta say, Chill, with it, because it's Wakanda knows about the world. The world doesn't know about Wakanda, so they know everything culturally about every other culture, because know thy enemy. So they know about everywhere else. So they've been out in the world. They just been having under guys. So they know about them. Just not everyone knows about what's going on in Wakanda.
And they're better than them. They shouldn't want to speak like them. Know thy enemies. Since when do we act like our enemies?
Right.
I love it, Chillmonger. You're beneath me.
Everybody. Does Wakanda see everybody as an enemy so much as they see them as, I need to know who you are, period. Whether you're friend or foe, I need to know, because when you look at T'Challa all the time, he's already weighed out what people's strengths and weaknesses are. So when he comes at him, okay, if you come at me like this, I'm gonna be cool. But if you come at me like this, I done already looked you up and down and sideways, and I know exactly what I'm gonna do if you do.
That's Machiavellian of him. You know, he's got a little belly. He's got
a European thing.
It is, but understand, T'Challa studied abroad.
Mark, yes, he did. He went to universities and colleges everywhere. He went to Cambridge. He went to all this place. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, he knows these things.
As they say here, where she doesn't even know he's T'Challa yet, but he's like, yeah, I went to many colleges and universities. That was cool there. So yeah, like Paul was saying when we began this, the intelligence has been reminded to the reader, and they're not shying away from that. The Baba Nikusu, his father was murdered by the Elonga family. Those were the villainous family that we were introduced to issue 1. We saw them issue 2. Now here's the second half. So that sets the table there. I'm good on families and I'm good on the lore. I got it. Baba Nikisu at the age of 19 became the daimyo, the crime lord. I understand. Let's now play with these pieces and let's not introduce more families and stuff to muck things up. But so far, the table has been set and I'm all good with that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't remember that the family that killed his dad was introduced in books 1 and 2. I completely forgot that.
I had to read. I reread it.
Yeah.
Nice. You reread them. Is there anything you picked up extra from the rereadings?
No, I said I need to reread.
I got you. But to Brian, who did reread them, what did you pick up?
I reread them, and more. I felt the writer more. The more I started reading and then reading the little side things and reading what the writer's saying about how to develop the character and how she didn't want to just erase everything, but she wants to make it the right way. So the more I read that, the more I started to understand why we were going down the path that we were going.
One thing that I'll say before we move on to the crime family, something that was 1 or 2 panels, was basically how the Nakia, what's her name? The young lady?
Natima,
thank you. The way Natima didn't realize that was the real T'Challa. She thought that he was just some dude in a costume. Then she threw the vibranium arrowhead, for lack of a better term, at him, and he caught it without even looking. That shows his skills and abilities, unlike what we had seen during the previous run, because I will never forget, in the previous run, T'Challa was knocked on his tail by a dude on a buffalo. That completely destroyed the mythos of him being this big, bad physical character. That little scene right there, catching it without even looking, that shows you just how bad-tailed he is.
And moreover, this is where I give my hats off to Dr. Eve Ewing and her writing on this. That was actually like 2, maybe 3 panels, right? That's where your storytelling is at best in this medium of comic books, where you're telling a story and you're conveying a message with the minimal amount of information, with just the art and a couple of words. Because you have one panel where basically throws the knife at T'Challa, another panel where he simply catches it and he says, whatever he says.
No, she's the one who said, "Oh, you are.
You are, right?" So the third panel, she's like, "So you really are T'Challa." That's only 3 panels, and that conveys so much story in just 3 panels. A lot of writer teams don't get that. Sometimes the writer tries to do a lot of exposition to make those points. Sometimes the artist can't render that. They did that in 3 panels. That shows that Eve Ewing and Chris Allen are on the same page in terms of storytelling, and that's a cool thing.
Okay. And even before that, she came at him and put it to his throat, like, and he didn't flinch. It was just like, how like, and I think Theo had said something about it on one of his videos, like when you do like that to somebody to try to make them flinch or jump or something like that. I think that's what she was doing with that knife. And when he didn't move, she was like, ain't you gonna try to disarm me? It changed from, okay, I'm threatening to, okay, he's not acting the way I thought he was going to act when I did that. So
yeah. And I love how when she attacks him and he's like, I find you interesting,
Yeah,
like, you intrigue me as an adversary. He's like, finally, somebody who's worthy as an adversary. I find you intriguing. He conveys so much swag with that, and swag is what we were missing for the last year and a half on T'Challa. The boy had no swag.
Make a rule. There's no mentioning of the prior volume, okay? Volume 8 doesn't exist. We got to make that rule. Because we keep doing it. We did it for every other time we've sat down here to chat about it. We can't do it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's better. It's already better.
It is.
3 issues.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Paul
it's like Stockholm syndrome. I've been abused so long last year and a half.
Chris Allen, Eve Ewing.
Yes.
Whose is this? We had 3 issues to read. Is this the Chris Allen run or is this the Dr. Eve Ewing run?
It's a symbiosis. It's both of them, you know. And there's another artist in this as well, and I can tell when that changed. Somebody by the name of Matt Chater, and you can tell the writing style changed halfway through. Now, I've on the Black Comic Lords, I've mentioned in the past how I hardly ever used to pay attention to the creators behind it, but I'm doing better now, trying to figure out who's doing what. And I didn't do that when I read it through the first time, but I noticed how at a certain part, I'm like, this art style seems to have changed. But then I go back and I look and I'm like, okay, yeah, there are 2 artists or 2 illustrators on this, but they work well together. I really enjoy this art style. I'm guessing that most of it is Chris Allen. And I think he and Dr. Ewing are working well together, being able to convey a story like Paul just said, with her words and his art. It's doing a phenomenal job for me.
Okay. I gotta say the respect, you can feel the respect because you're
gonna give another kumbaya answer, Brian. I thought you were gonna tell me it's one or the other.
I would say Dr. Eve, I feel like it's her words, it's definitely her story, but she is so blown away, like, oh, you're gonna do my illustrations for this. That's in each panel conveys so much information that it's not just her words, so it has to be both of them. Each one, because on each page you might have 30 words, but you have 12 panels that are really conveying and moving you through what the story is really going on. So
I'll credit the writer for that, because the poses that are supposed to be there are decided from the writer, right? Like during the email exchange of this is what's on page 1, page 2, that's the writer. It says some days later. How do we feel about this time skip? I love it because T'Challa does happen to have different appearances, and like he's going to be in Wolverine, he's going to be in the Avengers, he's all over the place. So let me know that some days pass, so I can always tell myself that while this story is ongoing, there was some days where he did some Avengering, and now he's back in Black Panther.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just me.
Like you said, off paneling. There's some off panel stuff going on, and then like you mentioned, Jed McKay's run on Avengers. I don't know if anybody reads that, but he's also begun wearing the Benin T'Chaka outfit in his Avengers adventures. So I'm kind of curious if he was supposed to be exiled and
he talked about
what? I'm not going to get into that yet. I'm not going to get that. Maybe they'll explain it here in an issue or 2. So I'm gonna lay back. I'm like, they got a reason. Let's see if they explain.
But then they talk about that. He's talking about that in the first issue. He was talking about like, I still do go with the Avengers. It makes me feel good, but I need to come home. He comes home, but he's able to go off panel to these other things because he talked about in the first issue. I am going to still be dealing with the Avengers. I'm still dealing with all these other people.
But T'Challa,
he tired of changing uniforms. He just like, I ain't changing no more.
I mean, my initial impression was that he was switching uniforms so that people in Wakanda would not know that he's being Black Panther, even if he got seen. I understand what D-Real's talking about, but I am reading Avengers as well, and in the latest issue, he did wear the same outfit that you see in his own Black Panther run. So we just don't know the time frame. We don't know the time frames for when all this is going on. Is the thing. We don't know if by the time we get to that Avengers run, has he already been outed in Black Panther as in his own run as really being Black Panther? We don't know that yet.
It makes me worry that he's.
That's why I say I'm gonna hang back because I know they're going to explain.
Yeah.
But he isn't going to be the king for a long time. I wish that issue 6, the end of this trade, he's back to being the king again. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. And so the clothing he wears in Avengers is resembling that. And
he's still king. He's just not ruler. He'll always be king. He just won't be ruler. Once you're a king, you're a king. Even if you're exiled, you're still a king. You're just not a ruler.
That's not true.
That's absolutely true.
In most monarchies, once you give up the throne, you are no longer the king.
But they still refer to you as exiled king, whatever.
That's when you look, for example, when you look at the guy who gave up his crown because he was marrying that chick who was divorced, and that gave the whole line of Queen Elizabeth over in England.
Yeah, her husband.
They still refer to him as Prince Harry.
They referred to him as Prince. He was never referred to anymore as king because he gave up that role.
Are you talking about Harry?
He's talking about Elizabeth's
no.
husband. Elizabeth's husband.
No.
Oh.
Queen Elizabeth, right,
Mm-hmm.
was the daughter of the King of England.
Mm-hmm.
That king, her father, whose name I cannot remember.
George.
Oh, okay.
His name is King George III.
He was not supposed to be king. He was the younger brother. His older brother abdicated the throne because he was involved with this woman that was divorced. And at the time, you weren't supposed to do that. So when he went into exile, he was no longer referred to as king, whatever his name was. Okay, he was still a royal, but he wasn't the king. He was never referred to anymore as king because once you give up that title, you are no longer that.
I don't recall him actually taking the throne, though. I think he gave up.
Isn't it a difference between taking a title and you giving it up?
Right.
I mean, he was their father died. He was then king, whatever. But then he was like, you know what? My love for this woman who's divorced is more to me than ruling this country. So I'm going to abdicate.
No.
When Napoleon was exiled from France, they still referred to him as an emperor, even though he was exiled.
Well, I'm talking about T'Challa. I'm saying not going to mention it.
Mm-hmm.
He did not. Well, he kind of did, didn't he?
He gave all that up.
He gave it up.
Understand?
He did.
Wakanda has a parliamentary government. A parliamentary government, you can have a monarch there as a representative, but they have no power. They're not a monarchy. They're simply like a senator or a congressman.
Well,
that's what in essence his role was under the parliamentary government.
Correct. Queen Elizabeth had no power. She was just a figurehead. She was the monarch. Mm-hmm. I believe that he gave up his kingship, his figurehead. I think
they still refer to him as king, though.
I don't know.
I don't remember reading that in this comic at all.
So all that talk about the colonizer and their monarchy and stuff, that's getting completely edited out of the completed version of this video here. We're going straight into the next page. So over at Pfizer's, they get crashed, okay? And before that, actually, they're talking about this Brennan T'Chaka wedding that's coming up. And T'Challa, I don't know, I think he was a little bit sour that this can't be the biggest wedding. What about the one with Aurora? That T'Challa guy.
Yeah, that was nice.
I like
I had to reread that because I forgot that was him undercover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was his mask or whatever. I'm like, wait a minute.
EBs or whatever.
They're talking about himself. Yeah. That was funny. Yeah.
Was that him
being? I heard that was quite.
No, but that was a cool point because it also gave you. And Eve Ewing is a brilliant writer. It also gave you an opportunity because she's showing the difference between what life is like in Brennan T'Chaka versus the Golden City. Mm-hmm. People in Brennan T'Chaka like, yeah, that was for. I'm sure that wedding was great, but we didn't really get to see it because that was more for the elites.
Quote.
So in essence, establishing. She's establishing a caste system in Wakanda that exists.
Mm-hmm. Quote, all the way in Bernan's quote, all the way in Bernan's Zana, who knows? I'm sure it was very fancy, but this is a Beatty wedding of Beatty royalty.
Yeah.
They got their own culture.
It's kind of like comparing New York to say Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I'm from. You know what I'm saying?
Well, more like New York and Chicago, not Tulsa.
So
nobody knows anything about Tulsa.
That happened over there in New York. I'm sure that was great, and TMZ was there or whatever. But over here where we are, we don't pay attention to that.
That's world building right there, baby. It's not all about the capital city. We've got our own subcultures inside, and that makes Wakanda a more greater place.
Right, right. So mad props to her for doing that world building.
And D-Real should definitely read Ironheart, right?
He's never read Ironheart? You never read Ironheart?
I have seen Ironheart comics, but I never got into them.
I don't read Ironheart either.
The thing that you will learn with Eve Ewing in her writing, because I own and have read all of the stuff that she's done. She is a true comic head. Let me repeat. She is a true comic head. One of the things that I've learned in these spaces is oftentimes as fanboys don't give women that are in this genre their props, and we tend to challenge them and challenge their comic book knowledge and what have you. Go ahead and challenge Eve Ewing. She knows what she's talking about. Trust.
It didn't say I wasn't reading it because he wasn't.
No. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you, man. I'm talking in general. I'm saying in general. I'm talking about comments I hear in my space. You know, people make these comments about her and like, oh, I hope she can do this. I hope she knows what she's doing. And like, she knows what she's talking about. She's a deep comic head. The references that she puts, she will go into history. She'll go into the crates. She'll go into the long boxes. And she'll find references and she puts them in her books.
She mentioned Queen Divine Justice in number 2, and I hadn't thought about that character.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul called me out on that.
On her last run in Photon, she's talking about stuff.
Photon is so good.
Oh my god,
yeah.
the references she was dropping.
Now I read Photon. I read me and Chill did a little thing on Photon. I liked the way it was written, and yes, I did indeed love the callbacks to Amazing Spider-Man Annual 16 and the grip of those 80s Avengers books where she had a chairman run and all of that. Now that was well written, but I would have liked more action.
The book that run did have some criticisms. Actions one, it needed 2 more issues. Is another. It ended too quickly.
Photon was cool. It was okay. But all that being said, it's clear that she knows what she's talking about, because she's written here, there, and everywhere. Unlike, say, for example, Ta-Nehisi Coates. A lot of people like that run. I did not. He's a brilliant individual. He is a great scholarly writer. That doesn't necessarily translate well to comic books. And so with Dr. Ewing's writing, it is clear that she knows this genre and also the history involved in the Marvel Universe. So that makes her as good a writer as anybody.
That statement right there, I wholeheartedly agree with.
So there's a saying in here where they talk about the way that a currency or I'm trying to use a big word, the way that they made money, okay? So the Groom Nikusa family knew money from the global stock exchange, they say. And then this saying here is very African and very not an English saying, like the way I crapped on the pot calling the kettle black, right? They said here, "Poofed, that money is from the stock market as sure as mountains are flat." Hey, that's probably something that's being said in places that are not here, right?
Yeah.
Places with mountains where they talk about the geology of everything. And I like that saying. And I think that's a more fitting kind of thing to say in a Black Panther book.
Yeah, I agree.
It's much better. And then afterwards, Ise gets to meet with these Nikusu's men, and they're looking just to get somebody to do the catering over at the wedding. This is what happens, though. Ise gets booked. He's going to be the dishwasher over at the party. And
Black is T'Challa undercover for those.
T'Challa undercover.
Hold that panel up again, Chill.
I forgot which one I held. This one here?
The one with her men? No, the one with her men. Yeah, right there. Look at their outfits.
The outfits, yeah.
I love the fact that we're not seeing westernized outfits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of an Afro-futuristic type of outfits that you see the people wear. Little details like that. Also, when you look at signs in the city, they have things written in Wakandan, not English. Which in the last run, I know
that's like the first page.
The last run, everything was written in English, which irritated the hell out of me.
So when we read these comic books and we see characters interacting with each other, do you believe that they're speaking English to each other, or we think it's just translated for us?
I think it's translated. In my mind, it's translated.
I have a thought on that. I don't know if any of you watch a show called Warrior.
Come on, bro.
I gotta ask, man. I gotta ask.
Come on, man.
Ask. You know, everybody mad at me because I didn't read Ironheart, looking at me crazy. On that show, it takes place in like 19th century San Francisco, like right around turn of the century, and there are Chinese immigrants in this show. It's based on the writings of Bruce Lee, by the way.
Right.
Speaking of Bruce Lee,
on this show, when Chinese people are talking to Chinese people, it's in perfect English, but they're talking in Chinese.
Right.
But then when you see the Chinese people talking to somebody English or Irish or American, they have that broken English.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very well done. Very well done.
And that's kind of what I equate this to. Okay, it's written in English, but they're probably speaking.
But here's the thing, though.
I agree with you 100%.
Typically in comic books, whenever there is a translation going on, the English dialogue that we read is bracketed by these little triangles, these sideways triangles, and that's never done. So, yes, you're probably right that they are speaking in Wakandan, and it never occurred to me until this conversation that might actually be going on, because I'm thinking, okay, well, they're probably just speaking.
They are, but they're so much more advanced. So they could be speaking English, and that's just any type of thing. So you never know. They could be speaking French because it is Wakanda. Like they could be speaking anything. I mean, it's so many things because they're.
You're trying to give them credit for being smart, but I just don't think they'd assimilate, or they would.
Because there is no assimilation within Wakanda.
I mean,
for so
to Mark's
many years.
point, in comics generally, he's right. When they're translating stuff, they'll say, they'll put a little asterisk and say translated from whatever. But this is this entire book. This entire book's taking place in Wakanda. They're not going to, in every issue, say everything that you're about to read is translated from Hausa or whatever. So I think I agree with D-Real. I think this is a matter of it's just assumed that they're all speaking Wakandan. I love the fact that all the words on the building are in Wakandan typograph. In my mind, as I'm reading it, they're just speaking Wakandan. And so when we see certain little colloquialisms, that's their translation or their version of that term. Even the pot calling the kettle black, I'm sure there's some type of Wakandan equivalent to that concept.
Yeah, the panther calling the kettle black.
The panther calling the kettle, the pot calling the kettle panther or something.
Whatever, man. So, speaking of the street, I did notice that I was looking for something we mentioned a while ago. I don't even remember whose stream it was. We were talking about Burning T'Chaka being the slums and where there are air conditioners coming out of the windows. I forget who I was talking to when I said that, but there was a panel where I checked it out and I saw no air conditioners. I saw central air conditioning in every one of these homes. So just because they're
it's still Wakanda, bro.
It's still Wakanda.
There is a line about Bruce Lee. Every dishwasher here thinks he's Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably other fighters in Wakanda. I'm sure that you guys' UFC has a Bruce Lee that you could have been citing instead, but that's okay. We're letting that one slide. I already got my Panther calling the kettle black complaint.
Bruce Lee is the most famous martial artist in entertainment history.
The late great Bruce Lee was when he was an actual literal dishwasher while he was training in martial arts to make money. He worked as a dishwasher before he got big in the martial arts community.
I've been educated. Then it makes perfect sense for why.
When he was going to school and moved to California, he was a dishwasher.
Why are you trying to pretend like you knew that too?
He went to school in Washington.
It's literally in his biography movie.
All right, fine.
He went to school in Washington.
Brian, you're with me. You didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know, and it was like, okay, whatever. But I just assumed. I still worry about the whole thought. Why is Bruce Lee? I know they have movies that have knowledge about everything, but why would that be the name they pull out? So I agree with you. What you're saying, Chill.
That's what I thought.
Weird.
So it would have been better if he had said Shang-Chi.
I still watch Shaw Brothers.
Every dishwasher thinks he's Shang-Chi.
Yes,
you could have. I would have been okay with that because he's more aware of Avengers and that's something that's been happening at the time. I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Every dishwasher think he Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
how's that different?
I mean, just as recognizable. You could have put that in there.
But in Marvel, you think someone was there.
You're right, Brian. In the Marvel universe, you'd be saying Shang-Chi.
Yeah, yes, you would say something that we are all aware of.
Or Iron Fist or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not part of Jackie Chan's history.
When you was
little,
little,
that he was a dishwasher.
When you was little, you was like, whoa. You are,
But I didn't grow up in Wakanda though. So yeah, me being in Chicago, I sure did.
Yeah.
So let's give a compliment to Chris Allen's work here in The Beauty.
Yes,
we don't get enough of that. Like When I say enough of that, I think we all know what I'm talking about, but I'll be more specific. The thing that's inside skin tones that's called melanin. A lot of times the beauty, I don't know, pictures of pretty women are lighter toned, and now we get this cute dress. And if we look at the background, you can even see her trophy case where there's a whole lot of, I don't see silver. I don't see a single silver medal in sight. She's just some sort of like, I guess, gymnast or accomplished.
We gotta give credit though to Jesus Abertoff. If I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I apologize.
It's Jesus.
The person who's the colorist on this book.
Yeah.
And the colors of this book are very, very vibrant. And so I think that a lot of credit, along with Chris Allen and Matt Chater, needs to go to Jesus for his color work.
I think Eve Ewing even gives props to that colorist in the at the end of the book, at the back of the book.
Yeah.
She does.
Where in the letters section, I think she even gives props to the colorist.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you talk about the darkness of the melanin. They gave me very much Storm vibes, because a lot of Storms are and her issues are very dark, very but beautiful, Nubian. So that's kind of what I found.
I had made a reference in the video that I did on this book that I think if they do ever one day, fingers crossed, do another Black Panther movie and want to incorporate this character, it should be played by Jade Cargill, because she's got the abs for it.
Like Jade Cargill.
Think about it. Wakanda is a nation that has never been conquered up until, recently or whatever the case may be. Not talking about the movies, but everybody that you see in these panels are dark complexion.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from the continent of Africa that has not been colonized, that has not been infiltrated, having their bloodline infiltrated, everybody would be dark complexion like this. So I can appreciate how there is consistency with that. As an example, you don't see anybody with a blonde perm, a male with a blonde perm. Just throwing that out there.
I thought we weren't talking about the last one.
As an aside, speaking of melanin and dark complexion, I'm going to go off on a little brief tangent. If you have not seen the series on Netflix called My Dad the Bounty Hunter, I would highly encourage you to watch My Dad the Bounty Hunter. Season 2 dropped about 2 weeks ago with absolutely no fanfare from Netflix. It's a story about a mother, father, and 2 kids where the dad is literally an intergalactic bounty hunter. Think Boba Fett with a family. And the mother, the wife on there, is drawn or depicted as a darker skinned Black woman. And she is done beautifully. So speaking about skin tone, that made me think about that. So that's my little quick plug for My Dad the Bounty Hunter on Netflix.
And as an aside to jump on that, the way that the mother is from a planet, slight spoiler, she's from another planet.
Sorry.
And her planet is basically Wakanda. It's a planet of all Black people. And the way that she acts, it's kind of like she's a Dora Milaje. You got to watch. If you're a fan of Black Panther, I highly, highly, highly recommend you watch My Dad's a Bounty Hunter. Yeah. Because that planet, especially in that second season where you see the planet.
You're giving spoilers. I haven't even.
Oh, you haven't watched the second season yet?
I haven't either.
I'm like 2 or 3 episodes in.
Okay, so
you're sitting up here giving
all you need to know is that the second season, you see more of where she's from, and that planet reminds you of Wakanda. Like hardcore. We need to do Chillmonger. You need to pull us all together, have us all watch that series, and do a review of My Dad's a Bounty Hunter, because the parallels between that and Wakanda are like obvious.
Okay, right after my Rebels rewatch, I'll go back and check out My Dad's Bounty Hunter.
My Dad's a Bounty Hunter, yes, on Netflix.
Yeah, the second season was
the second season just came out not too long ago.
Yeah,
and it's the whole season, right? Not weekly.
No, it's the whole season. It's all there. It's all there already.
I will binge the second season.
Yeah.
Okay. We go to Mohanda, a neighboring Wakandan nation.
Flashback.
Do we remember Mohanda at all? Like,
no.
I think it was. It's mentioned a few times in Ta-Nehisi Coates' run.
What was the name of that country that was ruled over by the dude? I think this was during the.
Are you talking about Naganda?
Yes, that's it.
Naganda.
Southern neighbor.
The southern neighbor, correct.
I knew that. Yeah, Naganda's
the one that there had beef about the Akami Fields.
Yeah,
was supportive contention between Naganda and Wakanda was the Akama Fields.
Too many. If I was writing this, I would have made sure that all the surrounding nations just join. Oh, look at that! What's that?
I got that same book.
Yeah. A lot of good info in there.
Yes, sir.
But just know it's info up to about Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
the
could tell from
Atlas
the art
too.
style.
The Wakandan Atlas is another good resource.
So there's a family portrait of 4, mom, dad, and it looks like Natima and she got an older sister, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened. They're arguing downstairs about, this is my daughter. Let me get the exact quote. The arguments downstairs in this flashback. Find the right page. It says, "Our child from my very womb, no matter what, I don't care. It's a disgrace on our family. All the hopes and dreams we invested. What am I supposed to tell my father, my brothers?" What did she do?
Basically, looks like she walked away from being a gymnast. That's what I'm taking from this. When you look at the panel on the very next page, well, no, that page.
I thought that she left. She left.
It looks like she was a gymnast, and it looks like
she was
away from that.
Right. I thought that was a great way to sort of shed light on what her background is without, as I said, very little exposition, not using a lot of panels. They simply have in the background pictures of her as a gymnast winning these awards or what have you, and explains why she's so athletic and able to do all the things she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All I got out of it was she stopped doing what her parents wanted her to do.
I was wondering if she might have gotten pregnant or something, and then she ran away. Because that when he talks about he disgraced the family, the other thing I thought about, was maybe she was supposed to be one of the Dora Milaje and she turned it down.
Oh, I never thought about that.
The Dora Milaje come from various tribes, as originally historically.
True.
They had agreed to have a representative of each tribe send a daughter to the king's palace to be a Dora Milaje as representative of that tribe and a possible future bride for the king. So it's considered a great honor. Maybe she was slated to become one of the Dora Milaje and she turned it down.
Good thinking. Well, if she is pregnant, she's definitely got big baggy clothing, and maybe that's who got kidnapped. That she was trying to find, right? The offspring that she had. That's possible.
Never even occurred
to
the
motivation as to why she does what she does is we know where your kid is. If you want to find her,
the
do what she do. We want
is family.
D-Real. What you say?
The person that she's looking for is what I got out of that is that it's probably a family member.
Her kid.
Maybe her sister.
I thought it was her sister. That's why I thought it was her sister. She's going through the same things, the same pressures that she was being put on in her own family. Because I didn't even think about everything else, but I thought about they're putting so much pressure on her. She's just giving up and leaving. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm leaving, no matter what. I didn't, or you still didn't want the pressure,
right?
And have all the family. I'm depending on you, all that stuff. So she's leaving. I'm out. But now she's using her skills. We understand where her skills are coming from, but that's why she's using the skills to do what she's doing now. Because she says at the beginning, she's like, focus, just keep on focusing, team, and don't worry about everything else.
Yeah. Back to Burning T'Chaka in present day. Was that needed? Did we need to know that it was back to present day, or could we just been like, all right, we're back?
Yes, yeah? I mean, it's a nice segue.
Yeah, people are stupid, so yeah.
All right. In that big page, we do see a lot of Wakandan text in the background, and it's not English. That's cool. The thing, though, that I called out in my review, and I want everyone's opinion on this. This person broadcasting is like, hey, the whole world is here in Wakanda. Again, Wakandans don't care about you, whole world. We're not more valuable because you guys are here validating us. F that. So that's not a Wakandan. That person who spoke and said those words on that page was a foreigner broadcasting live from this foreign country that's called Wakanda, where everyone's here, so it matters. That's what that was. Well, so, Mark, was that woman a Wakandan?
I took it as such. I didn't look at it or analyze it the way that you did. I just looked at this as their extra or TMZ broadcasting about this big event in this local city, or maybe even a local news broadcaster. One of the questions that I had, though, is they mentioned the Opera House was the Francois Alio Memorial Opera House, and I was wondering, was that a call out to anything or anyone specifically? Matter of fact, I just Googled that name and didn't come up with anything. But they specifically said this name, so I'm just wondering where it came from. But no, I didn't take this as her being anything other than straight Wakanda.
D-Real?
Which part? The name or the journalist?
Is she a Wakandan or is she a foreigner?
I believe that she could be Wakandan or someone from a neighboring country.
Well, that's both answers. You can't answer both.
Okay. She's Wakandan. Yeah.
Right. Because
Paul, don't disappoint me.
I think she's probably Wakandan, and I think she's possibly speaking hyperbolically.
I mean,
the whole world is here,
right? Some of us can be wrong. That's totally acceptable.
No, I meant like think about it. Well, you mentioned for example, or somebody mentioned like this could be like their version of TMZ. When you have these channels or shows where they talk about entertainment, they speak in hyperbole of this is the greatest wedding of all time. This is the greatest concert of all time. They speak in those terms. The whole world is watching, and the whole world is like, 30,000 people. It's just, I just interpret it as that. Although I agree with you, Chillmonger, that the fact that I have to think about it shows it probably shouldn't have been done, because this is Wakanda. I have the view of Wakanda as we are who we are. Technically, we're the pinnacle of the world.
Exactly.
And we don't care about what the rest of the world thinks.
But that's why I'm
been detracted. We've been distanced from the world for like thousands of years. And we just recently opened ourselves up. They're not going to be like, oh, well, now we've opened ourselves up and, we're exposed to the Western influences and we're going to jump on board and care what the rest of the world. I just don't see that. I agree with you, Chillmonger, in that respect, that it seems out of place.
Okay. Good answer, Brian.
Good answer. So, but I think to them, the world is just Wakanda, because it's kind of going back to the panels before where they're talking about when T'Challa was asking them, well, what about when T'Challa got married? It's in their own little region. That's the whole world.
Yeah,
this is the biggest wedding in the world. The Wakanda is the world. The world is just outside. They don't care about anything outside. This is what the world is, and she's probably not broadcasting anything outside. This is all just for and within Wakanda.
Yeah.
Once again, T'Challa's wedding was not even broadcast in T'Chaka. So like that's for them to say it. I feel like it's only dealing with what's going on in Wakanda.
Here are the specific words, though. Well wishes from across Wakanda and around the globe are arriving to celebrate the happy couple. I don't interpret that as glad that the world is here, that Europeans or colonizers are in their borders. It's just stating a fact that there are people more than this local community who are here. I didn't take this more than
does Wakanda really need the validation of the rest of the world?
I don't think that.
Oh my God. No, I
didn't realize that too.
She's not smiling as she says that. She's like reporting it. Yeah, she's not going like, yo, the well wishes from all over. That she's just giving a little, like, look at her face.
She's stating facts.
These people are here. Whatever.
Around Wakanda and around the globe. That's just a fact. So I don't look at this as being seeking validation.
I needed to do what Brian did and reread and catch
and that's why she's Wakandan, Chill.
Okay, fine. Yeah. On my own video. Yeah. we could have went on. I was like, I thought I gave them something. Yeah, fine, guys. I was wrong. And I was prepared to play this on you guys.
You are wrong. All of you are wrong.
That's your go-to, ain't it? Ain't that your go-to?
Let me say this real quick. That scene right there is one of the most powerful, impactful scenes as far as acting is concerned by Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther 1. That's the scene that I always have in my mind when people talk about fan casting a new actor for the role of T'Challa. And it's like, can they have or have they displayed that level of emotion in their previous work? And so if I've not seen that in an actor, something of that magnitude, I'm like, nah, you can't be my T'Challa. So
Damson Idris has done that.
Yes, he has.
Mark,
bodies.
So Mark, you're saying you're like this right here.
I'm sure you did your best.
Exactly. I'm sure you did your best, but your best wasn't good enough.
Okay, more beautiful artwork and more scenery, but really nothing substantial on this kind of page here. Would you guys all just agree with that? I just think this is just here for the artwork. We're just watching all the people file in, whatever.
It is colorful. It is very colorful.
Yep.
It's understanding who everyone is there, how important it is, see how busy it is. Nothing happens, though.
Right. Nothing happens. And we kind of have an understanding that it's a busy place. So I would have pulled that page just to get a little bit more Deathlock, because when that splashes on us here, the Deathlock appearance is like, oh, okay, business about to pick up. But you know, when you're reading a comic and the left side is a little bit more heavier than the right side, you're like,
I was like, wait a minute. There's only 2 pages left. What's going on?
That's real talk. When the left side is bigger than the right side, and you get to a really exciting part, you start to have some anxiety.
Oh man,
this is getting ready to be continued.
You're ready for the final.
What do you think about Deathlock's new look?
Good.
I like that new look on Deathlock.
So I don't remember his old look.
He reminds me of Night Thrasher.
His old look had like the red and yellow outfit.
Deathlock.
And I'm like, if you're an assassin, you're like a cyborg hunter killer assassin.
Why would you
really want the hunter killer assassin to be dressed in bright red?
Right. But this black and red reminds me of Night Thrasher. Do we know who this Deathlock is yet?
No, we don't know yet.
No, it didn't say in the page yet.
We don't know if this is Michael Collins or Henry Hayes or some other new character.
Yeah.
Well, as we found out in the book, in the pages of Avengers, there's a whole bunch of Deathlocks.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something I was just thinking about, D-Real, is that, you know, they murked a whole cadre of Deathlocks.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Avengers run. I like that. What was that? Avengers Forever? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was the main one, and then it bled off into Avengers Forever. It's kind of a crossover.
Yeah, so
chill.
And that is that, because the next page that we see after he hops on the scene is it's just Nadima saying, "Hey, come over here, T'Challa," and T'Challa shows up in the Black Panther garb that is, you know, the imposter Black Panther. He doesn't want everyone to know he's the real Black. The glare is crazy. But it's the Black Panther that he says, "I'm here," and this appears to be Deathlock. And it looks like we're gonna get some fighting. Somebody's already dead on the floor. Everyone else is running all around. That's the scene. That's the end of the book. And I didn't read the e-viewing part, so I will now, just to hear her give credit to Jesus Abertov.
Here's the thing about this title, this run. Shout out to Dr. Ewing, because I'm excited to read issue number 4.
Yeah,
I want to know what's getting ready to happen. Right. I didn't pretty much have that during the last 2 runs. The issue would be over. I'm like, okay, the issue's over. I'm it's on my pull list. I'll get the next one. After this splash page, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's about to happen? I want to see what's going to happen. I can't wait to read the next issue. I'm not fuming, cussing out the writer as I've done.
Okay. Like, what the hell's Namor doing here? Right now, I'm doing it. I'm sorry, I'm doing it now.
Right.
But just say that it's actually respect for the character. That's what you're getting. And in every issue that's come out, I feel like the writer, the illustrator, they understand the character, they respect the character, they respect where it's coming from. They're not just throwing crap at it and just saying, "Oh, I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to westernize it. I'm going to give you actually something that should be coming out of Wakanda."
If it's happening by accident. No, it is happening. It is happening, Brian. The westernizing of him not being the king right now and honoring that decision that was prior, they're maintaining that status quo. Well, how do you feel about
she said that? But she said that she was going. I know I can immediately change what they did in the first one, but instead I'm going to go through the run. I'm going to make it right during panels, so it makes sense, because I don't want to just say F everything that happened last time. I'm going to give you an entire storyline to get him back to where he belongs.
Would you complain if she said F everything that happened last time? Would you complain?
Hell no. I would have been very happy. I was just retcon everything. I was very happy with it.
I would have liked for her response to have been, "What last run?"
I have a question. I want her to get T'Challa and Aurora back together.
That ain't gonna happen.
There is a Twitter. There is a Twitter individual who had a long thread talking about how Aurora was treated better in the Black Panther run than in the X-Men run for years and years and years. And I've
been saying that for years.
I would agree with that. But I would like for Dr. Ewing to get Aurora and T'Challa back together, and I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
Sure.
Sure. It's not going to happen. But
I
sure.
don't think she's going to be in around it at all.
I think that's one of those things that it's a Marvel mandate. Like the X offices have their say because the X titles are probably the best titles that Marvel's cranking out right now. So they have it, and they're sort of their own world over there, and they do not like Storm with T'Challa.
Right.
That's clearly evident. They do not like the two of them.
Or
together.
they're waiting for it. They don't want until they have everything set up. They don't want to be.
They're not waiting for anything. They're not waiting for anything. They don't like them together. The Black Panther panel, the Black Panther people, they're fine with T'Challa, with T'Challa. They've done more things with Aurora's character in terms of elevating her profile, making her a queen, and then making her a literal goddess.
Yeah, queen and goddess.
Acknowledging that she's a goddess. Like full blown, not just alluding to it, which is what the X titles have done. They've alluded to the fact, and they said, "Oh, it's always goddess with quotation marks, right?
Small G,
small G goddess." Where in Black Panther, they literally made her a goddess to the point that when the Orisha showed up in Black Panther 24,
wow, that's
under the Ta-Nehisi Coates,
statement.
What does T'Challa do? He turns to Aurora and say, "Hey, Aurora, why are your homies over here? The Orisha, why are they here?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. It's not like we have meetings, but I assume that it's this." But she didn't say, "I don't know because I'm not a goddess." She's like, "We don't have She said, "We don't have meetings." She's acknowledging her own godhood. Black Panther writers do that. They don't. The X writers don't do shit like that.
The Twitter account that I was talking about is @ButterflyKiss, and Kiss is spelled KYSS.
Yes.
This individual did like a 7 or 8 tweet thread talking about how or why. Yep.
Butterfly Kiss is a huge
why Storm would do better over in the Black Panther universe than in the X universe. And she mentioned,
I like that action figure, Storm. That was
about
dope.
how Aurora was first mentioned as a big G goddess over in Black Panther and not in the X titles. So it's.
What do you think? What are they going to do with Storm and her own title right now? Because that's what they're starting up now.
Yeah.
The Storm.
I got time. I could read this thread. How is everyone else right now on time? Because we can do this to close out the video, and that'll be that.
I ain't got nothing to do. Ain't no football on.
My team won yesterday, barely.
Barely.
Yeah,
I have until my family starts calling me because I've got a whole bunch of my family visiting me right now.
Did you play yesterday?
Preseason, yeah, they played the Browns.
Barely, yeah, you barely won that game.
32-33. But
I was like,
what? That's what we do all year long. So
now, until you guys have a wide receiver, we're gonna have to talk about that. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. Justin Ross.
Who's the current Super Bowl champion right now?
Oh, hey, because you got Mahomes, bro. If Justin Ross is your
Chillmonger in Canada is absolutely bored of this discussion right now.
I'm like, can we talk about the
Sorry, we talk about cricket, Chill. My bad.
Cricket. That's such an ignorant statement.
That was so bad.
It's ice hockey, lacrosse. You could talk about the Raptors or something. We don't have an NFL squad.
Oh man, not yet.
It's
coming.
I hope. Not a money.
It's coming.
So Butterfly Kiss says, why Aurora was and is better off in the Black Panther franchise. A thread. First tweet. Aurora's history to T'Challa was first explained in the Marvel Team Up issue 100. It is here we learned how they met when Aurora was traveling from Cairo to Kenya. They were said to be only destined as friends, but fate would prove otherwise. Well, how old is this?
That came out in 1980.
82.
Somewhere around there, 81, 82.
So I thought that this 2005 Storm series was
it predates it. And see, Reginald Hudlin, talk about a comic book fan digging into the crates. This was a one-off, right? From 1981, 82, whenever it came out.
And it was a backup story, too.
Correct. Karma from the X-Men was first introduced in this book. But Reginald Hudlin, knowing this history, developed a whole storyline that permeated all of Marvel back in 2007 or whatever. That was the first time that in comics that the two of them met and were introduced, and we learned about their history together as teenagers.
Right. Right. And then subsequent issues, just a recent issue. God, what book was that? She basically said, it was my encounter with T'Challa that made me realize that I could be a hero. You know, that I could be more than just this. It wasn't the meeting with Xavier. It was her encounter when she was on Walkabout, that when she encountered T'Challa, that made her realize she could be more than simply the goddess of these people in Kenya, helping them with their rain and their crops and stuff. But she could go out and use her powers for good, to go out and help people. Because that instance with T'Challa was the first time she really got to do that.
I'm already happy
he
that we're
influenced her
doing
to become a hero.
That's amazing.
Next tweet says, and before I get into the reasons, please know Aurora, she didn't capitalize Aurora. Speaking of lowercase letters.
This English major over here.
Please know Aurora had ties and connections well before they were ever married. This was another not capitalization. This is not okay. This is
on the phone.
It's Twitter.
It's done on the phone, probably, you know.
Okay, but how can the word "and" got a capital letter? That's not okay. Come on now.
Because it's the beginning of a thing. So if you do it on your phone, it automatically capitalizes it.
You're right. This was discussed both in Priest's Black Panther run as well as in the earlier Uncanny X-Men. Ignore trolls and haters who suggest otherwise. Okay, I guess Aurora had connections and ties, right?
Right.
So here they are, where the Panther's technology is incredible. We're 10 meters away, and you can't hear its engines. We can't hear its engines. Yeah, man, that's the
vibranium bafflers on the engines, which absorb all the sound.
As it does, yes.
Look at Luke.
Yeah,
Luke is my boy.
Next tweet down here. Reason number one, Aurora's now she capitalizes. Like, I'll stop.
Once again, you go colon, you do the next word is going to capitalize on that.
Go back up to that. Go back up to that last tweet.
Yeah. Here?
Never mind.
Okay. Reason one, Aurora's history was further explored beyond just being a mutant. It was in Black Panther books where we learned her grandmother is still alive, and we learn more about her father and her time in Harlem during the Outback era. I remember this. The X-Officers had no interest in this.
Okay, let me just interject real quick. For those who don't know, back in the 90s, the X-Men were thought to have been dead, and then they were basically living in the Outback in Australia. And during that time, Storm spent time away from the X-Men team in New York.
And that's where we meet Gateway.
I will add, however, that it was in the New Mutants title that we first learned that Storm has ties to a sorceress from ancient Egypt called Ashaki. That first happened in New Mutants. But they never ran with that.
They didn't run with a lot of stuff.
You know why.
Let's see. Reason number two, we get to see Aurora happy, loving, and enjoying life, which is a wonderful balance to a life that is often mirrored in war and conflict. Aurora is a human, and at the end of the day, who should enjoy the luxuries of not just fighting, but living life to its fullest. And here we're going to see a whole bunch of her enjoying, look at that romantic kind of, huddling. I remember that.
That panel, that right there, from the Coates' run. You want to talk about seeing Black? One of the things I always talk about on the Black Comic Lords thing is the hashtag Black Super Love, and how rare that is in comic books. Is having two Black superpowered individuals be in love. It's a rarity, and to his credit, say what you will about Coates' run, his portrayal of their Black super love was so organic and real.
Mm-hmm.
The way they interacted were like two adults having a relationship, a real relationship. And that's what made, the fact that the way they got torn apart, both with starting with Marauders 13, and then with the run by He Who Shall Not Be Named, really bothers me because of how rare it was and how well it was done to bring them back together and put them in a solid state.
And it was
where
without
they can
conflict.
without conflict, where they're both what their conflict was is like, am I, you want me to be your queen, and yet I'm an X-Man and I need to be able to be both. And what Coates did is he brought them back in a way where it was cool for her to do her own thing, and for him to do her own thing. And they trusted each other and they loved each other and they supported each other and recognized that they can do their own thing.
No, it's powerful, but it's very powerful.
That's how real relationships work.
But that's why they didn't want to put that out. They put out other stuff all the time, but that type of power in a black relationship like that is never discussed in comic books. It's never really elaborated at all.
That's why,
and that's huge.
It's a missed opportunity. It was not only a missed opportunity, it is a travesty that Marvel, or rather the X offices, who I detest sometimes, really thought that it was a good thing to split them up the way they did. It's just I really
unpopular opinion.
Don't get me started.
But what makes sense from where I stand at. Do we think X fans in general see everything in mutant and nothing else? So if Storm being in the Black Panther comic book with the Black Panther could be seen much in the same way as we would see one of our own, if they quote unquote dated outside their race. So not to say dating outside your race is a bad thing, but maybe people like X fans and maybe even to some degree the X offices see mutants as just that. And anything else they would be doing or trying to do anywhere else in the comic book would be seen as an effrontery to their mutantness.
So what you're asking is, does her X gene permeate her existence versus her womanhood or her blackness? Probably over there in the X title, that's probably how they think about it. I'm an X-Men fan. I'm loving the current run of the Fall of X and all that other good stuff. But as a black man in America, my blackness permeates everything first and foremost, right? So when I see her with T'Challa, I'm looking at her as a black woman with a black man, and as has been said by Brian, and Paul, in the history of modern comics, you do not have a black power couple. You don't hardly have any black couples who are known. You don't have a Lois and Clark. You don't have a Reed and Sue. You don't have a Peter and Mary Jane, or Peter and Black Cat, and Peter got around a little bit. But anyway, you don't have that solid black love in comic books. And shout out to Reginald Hudlin, who did that, right? It was unnecessarily torn asunder during the X-Men versus Avengers run. And then, as much as I disliked Coach's run, I give him credit for, as Paul said, organically trying to put them back together that was unnecessarily yet again destroyed during the last run. And hopefully Dr. Ewing has the ability to put them together, because this is what's missing in comics. There is no black love in modern comics from the big three. Well, let me say the big two. I don't know what all is going on over in Image, but when it comes to the comic books of Marvel and DC specifically, you'll be hard pressed to find two black characters that are in love with each other. Think about it.
Yeah. And if they do, they wouldn't play them up anyway.
Over in DC, you may have Mal Duncan and Bumblebee, but nobody gives a damn about Mal Duncan and Bumblebee, if we're going to be honest about it. T'Challa and Storm are the preeminent black characters in Marvel. They just are.
Reason number 3. Aurora was stated as being above race because she...
What does that mean?
All right, let's stop. Go ahead, guys.
What does that even mean? Above race?
I understand it.
I think it was kind of like what I was. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Right.
What I was explaining here earlier, they don't see Aurora as a black woman, and that's the problem.
That's it.
They see her as a
X-Men. They see her as a mutant.
Yeah.
They look beyond all that. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I'm beyond all that. One of the problems, Aurora's like one of my favorite characters. Fact, just flat out. I think Oro is a good character, but the problems I've had with the character, based on what particular writer has written her, the biggest problem is the fact that they often fetishize her. She is the exotic.
Yeah.
She is the other. Whenever they need to do an alternative black version of a character, they put her in the multiverse and have her get with Gambit or Cable or Cyclops and have a black version of that character made in the multiverse. Storm, if you go through the multiverse and sees how many children she has, she's got a bunch of children by a bunch of different characters because she is the fetishized, exotic other that they use when they're trying to do those types of storylines. And that's always bothered me. And that has to do with just whatever writers is writing her. There are some writers that write Storm brilliantly and put complete respect on her name. Al Ewing being the first and foremost. John Hickman being another one. When they write that character, Storm does things. She's a real fleshed out character who is not just some fantasized fetish for fanboys. And I think that is a problem that has plagued that character for a long time.
That above race crap really hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts because that's one thing. I mean, comic books. The reason it got me into comic books is it reflected my real life, but gave me a positive spin on a lot of crap, a lot of stuff that I have to deal with that I don't have to worry about in comic books. I have the power to go above what's actually out there for me today. Like I could see Wakanda. I could see a place where I didn't have imperialists coming in and doing all these things. Like you can have those ideals, and to say for the X-Men specifically, for the X-Men to say above race, when they were the ones that talking about the inclusion and all this stuff and bringing all that stuff out from the get-go, that hurts. X-Men was supposed to be that group that understood that.
Brian, let me ask you something. First off, how old are you, and when did you get into comics, and what book did it for you?
I'm 38. My father was in comics, so honestly, I've been around comics my entire life. So.
Have you?
Yeah, like my dad was yeah. You see my stuff, my long boxes. I have gotta be like 10,000 comics, but it was handed down from my father. He was always big into T'Challa. He was always big into Batman. So those are the ones that I kind of stuck with Black Panther. Probably have maybe 200 issues or so. I try to catch on between. There's some I like, some I don't, but I mean, all of them are important to me. And all of them kind of gave me a really good visualization of who I am and who I would be without all this other crap in there. A world without, what people see me and fear me. Remember, I'm a 6'5", 265 black guy. All right, I'm a very big dude. And I know how people.
You're above race.
But they see me. They see me coming. So it's nice to see someone who has the power to be able to deal with that. And I think that was always big with me. So it stands very strong.
Do you ever cosplay?
I haven't.
Dude, you would make a good Bishop.
Bishop? I've heard Bishop. I've definitely heard Black Lightning, but
Nah, Bishop.
I'm big. I'm a big dude.
What's this mean? Attacking Claremont? What is that in reference to?
Because remember I talked about the fetishization of Storm?
Oh, yeah. That. Okay.
I love Chris Claremont. I think he's one of the best writers to ever write comics in general, but specifically the X-Men. But I have some issues with the way he's written Storm. I mean, there are times that there's some cringy stuff. If you go back through the crates and read some of the portrayals of Storm in history, there's some cringy moments there that it didn't age well. Is what I will say.
I've heard people say Ali transcends race or Michael Jordan or something like that. And the way I know you're shaking your head. I get it. But what they mean when you say that, and by the way, Mark, did you see the DM? Go ahead and.
Yes.
All right. Yes. When they say that, they're trying to say actually like a nice thing. They're actually trying to say we can humanize him on a level. That's what they're saying.
I'm getting ready to disagree with what they're saying, what they're doing. Go ahead, continue.
Do X fans understand? I'm sorry. Do X fans understand why the X-Men came to be in the first place?
Exactly what my point is. That's exactly my point. The whole X-Men doing it.
Yeah. You have to see race if you understand the reasoning behind what the X-Men are. That's literally Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Well, what they're telling you is that we don't associate stereotypes and stuff when it comes to Storm. We're not thinking of someone like a stranger who all you know about is the way that they look, and so we just apply, okay, this person's probably fatherless and ratchet and all the other kind of negative stuff, which I shouldn't have reinforced by saying them out loud, but that's what they don't think about when they see Storm. And to that's why I understand them for saying, and they word it in a terrible way. It's like saying something like, this is kind of a little bit off track, but you ever heard the topic of white trash? Why white trash? Why not just trash? Why do they got to be white trash, right? I'm trying to make sense, but I think you know where I'm going with that, Mark.
No, I feel you. I understand what you're saying.
I understand.
So it's just a misuse of language.
I understand what you were saying about when white folks, because they're the only ones who say this, where they say they don't see Michael Jordan, who was very popular in the day, Michael Jackson, whoever, as they don't see race, is that they quote unquote transcend race. No, they don't transcend race. They are still Black individuals. Just your internal bias allows you to see them as a real person and not automatically put them in this negative box or have negative connotations about them. They've not transcended anything.
I'm too busy celebrating. I'm too busy being happy that they see human, as opposed to being, okay, well, the reason why you shouldn't say that, let me just stop you right there, and here's why we can, I don't want to be the fun police and let them know that what you're saying has problems. I'm just going to take you view Michael Jordan as a person? Wonderful. That's how I'm going to take it.
I think it's more that just their socioeconomic level has gone up so high that you no longer see it. When you've made so much money, you are seen as something totally different. I think that's what it is more than anything. It has nothing to do with it. Their socioeconomic level has gone above their race.
Yes.
Because you have race, you have socioeconomics, you have all those things.
About that. Dave Chappelle talked about remember when Chappelle was pulled over by that cop, and it was the same cop who would eventually take out he did something wrong, I forget what it was, but it was like, why because I was Dave Chappelle and because he recognized me, why was that the reason why I was freaking I don't know, sacrificed, or not sacrificed, the other word for that, let go. So yeah, the socioeconomical kind of status can reach so high that all of a sudden you no longer see it, like that when Uncle Phil bailed out Will and Carlton. Remember that? And he was like, wrap you up in so much litigation, all that stuff. You could see the cop slowly humanize Uncle Phil for, what he is worth all of a sudden. And that's because he reached the status. Man. Yeah. Let's read the thread. Yeah. Reason number 3, she said. I'm on the wrong page. Whoops. Is it here?
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
Aurora was stated of being above race because she rarely discussed it. This thankfully was not true in Black Panther. Yeah, she is written in black spaces where we get to see the intersectionality of being black, a woman, and a mutant. Yeah. Y'all already know the X offices ain't touching this. Maybe it was Tom Brooks.
She ain't lying.
So we got to see them.
That's off of the Cruise series. Not that one. That's from Black Panther. The next page.
You said this page here?
No. Yeah, that's from the Crew, where you get to see Storm go back to Harlem to, her roots from New York, her family in New York.
And she hung out with Misty Knight, if I am mistaken.
Right.
Black Panther and the Crew, I want to say it was about between 5 and 8 issues, if I'm not mistaken.
It's somewhere around here.
I recognize one of these panels here from Wakanda Forever X-Men. Anyone want to test me on that? Because I'm sure it is.
No,
I can't argue.
I accept it.
Yeah. Here we go here. It says reason number 4. She has access to the larger Marvel universe. She linked up with the Avengers and Fantastic Four while in Black Panther. I got to push back. She does have interactions with these other groups in other comics. She should be both Earth and the universe's mightiest protector here. So these all happened in Black Panther issues.
I don't recognize that. That doesn't look.
The Fantastic Four was that first one. Where she and T'Challa took over the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. But the one with
Jonathan Hickman.
So
this was written by Reggie Hudlin, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was Dwayne McDuffie. We got 3
You're
different.
right. You're right. I think it might have been Dwayne McDuffie.
Well,
It was McDuffie first.
no,
You're right.
It was McDuffie.
You're right.
I had that one.
Hudlin took the Black Panther comic part because he was the guy writing that,
Yeah.
and then Dwayne McDuffie was doing the Fantastic Four stuff.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
See how everyone can be right, D-Real, and we're not going to call each other out on it?
It's your show.
Next tweet is this one here. It says, reason number 5. She lives for a world more in line to the dream she first joined the X-Men to help secure. She fights with mutants and non-mutants alike because she values all life, not just mutants. X-writers tend to write her one-dimensionally, which does her a disservice. Kind of, you're right. And part of that, maybe I'll give them a bone. Because it's a group book, because you're always writing these different characters, you're not going to get the Aurora focus. Not all the time, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that last picture. That was really cool.
That's from the crew.
Yeah.
This one?
No, before that.
The first
The
one.
adversary.
The adversary, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That right there, that's from the crew.
Reason number 6. She isn't written taking a back seat to her friends and colleagues such as Logan, Cyclops, Emma, etc. Her voice perspective is as heard and is respected in the Black Panther books. No lowballing of her to make others look good.
Okay,
Such as making her a regular teammate and subservient to Kitty Pryde on an X team.
Okay,
Someone who she mentored as a child.
right now, though, in the X books, she's not being treated that way. She's like the goddess of Morocco or whatever. So
Regent.
They've been doing a better job with her over the past year and a half over in the X books, more so than they have over the previous 30 years of the character's incarnation.
That's because we're talking.
Probably why we get so many complaints about the X-Men books and these runs now.
That's because we're talking about the writing of Al Ewing and Jonathan Hickman, which just said those are the exceptions to the rule. By and large, she has not been treated well.
Reason 7 of 10. Aurora is written as the powerhouse she is, even in a book she is featured in, and not the main character. This is where we first find out she's potentially an Omega, and literal goddess.
Facts.
Lowercase g. Respect in this regard will always be given as the Wakandans see her as a god. So, yeah, in this... What's this? This is an X-Men book, though, isn't this? No?
I don't recognize that.
No, that's Scott Eden's art, isn't it? I changed my mind. So...
This might be decent.
T'Challa.
Given her braids. How about that? How about that
I
last
like the box braids.
Go back one picture.
Yeah.
Braids.
Yeah.
How often have we seen her have braids in the X books?
Never.
Again, I don't like it when Africans assimilate to something that what was that?
Somebody on fire?
Was that me?
Yeah.
I think it had to be you.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
I was mid joke, and I don't think it's gonna hit as hard. I was gonna say Storm is copying the Kim Kardashian Armanian kind of box braids, and we don't need to have that in our comic books. That's what I was gonna say, but it's not gonna hit the same because of that interruption. Here we go. Number 8. She has a legacy she can leave indifferent to her ties to the X-Men, just as Gray Summers is important to mutants. Aurora T'Challa could be respective to this franchise, as was hinted by the Watcher. That's right. I remember that.
I remember that.
Right.
Oh.
That was validating right there with the Watcher being at the wedding. And no matter what that thing is with Cable, doesn't count. Yuck. Epic, yep.
Shout out again to Reginald Hudlin for putting these two together.
Look.
And showing just how important their union was. That the Watcher, he showed up at their wedding because he realized how significant that Black union was.
Yes. These panels that the Chillmonger is just showing is from, if you're a Black Panther fan, a book you should, or 2 books you should really have are the annuals, Black Panther annuals 1 and 2, that were written by Reggie Hudlin. It's called Black to the Future Part 1 and Part 2. That's where you for one, Black to the Future number 1 is the first time you see Shuri as the Black Panther. Everyone's like, I gotta buy, whatever, Black Panther number 2. It's actually in Black to the Future number 1 that you first see Shuri don the mantle of the Black Panther. Also, in this storyline, it's a fast forward to the future where T'Challa and Aurora have their kids and they're getting married. And some of them are getting married to one of them's getting married to Namor's child. But it's acknowledged that Black Panther and Storm took over the world. They're last people standing. Like, they bodied everybody. They took over the entire freaking world. So much so that they're left alone now.
Took trophies too.
Which was the fear that Reggie Hudlin wrote about. If when they first got married, they're on honeymoon, and T'Challa and Storm are on a beach at some island, secluded island that Namor gave them for their honeymoon. And he has this conversation with Storm, and she's like, "Don't you fear, like, you know, what people will worry about with having me and you get together?" He says, "No." And she goes, "Why not?" He's like, "Because if they come after us, I'll have to deal with them." You know, it's like I will literally take them out. Like, he makes that's the fear, is having them as a couple was that dangerous. That's one of the reasons I love them together, because it was dangerous having them together for the rest of the Marvel universe. And
you're done fixing
ultimate state in those annuals.
I don't care about Rogue.
This comic is called Black to the Future. That's the name
It's
of
the name of the storyline in the annuals.
Yeah.
It's Black Panther Annual 1 and Annual 2.
Yeah.
From
you can get the book.
One of them came out in 2008 and the other one came out in 2018.
I was thinking about that storyline. I could not remember where it was, because I obviously I remember there being one of their descendants being part Atlantean. I just couldn't remember where it came from.
Yeah.
Reason number 9, creators. This is perhaps the most important. Her inclusion in the Black Panther franchise has allowed her to be written by a very diverse group of writers. I don't like the way that the people use diverse. It's not a diverse group. They're actually the same skin tone, right? They're the same
all black.
American.
I think by diverse, they're not referring to skin tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got guys and ladies.
Their style, and then you got men and women.
Okay, then I'm wrong. Yeah, so then they're using
because Reggie Hudlin's a movie director. Ta-Nehisi Coates is an epic writer of
he's an academic.
Nonfiction.
Coates is an
academic who's also writes nonfiction,
which subsequently can allow more diverse and well-rounded storytelling featuring Aurora. Is this Roxane Gay?
No,
that's not Roxane Gay.
No.
That's Nikafor, and I can't pronounce her name.
Nidi Okafor or something.
Yes, I believe
there was a basketball player named Okafor. So this is Coates, and this is Roxane Gay.
No, that's not Roxane Gay.
I have no idea who that is.
It's not Vita Ayala.
No, it's not Vita Ayala.
Dr. Ewing.
Nope.
No.
I know who I want to say it's Sheena Howard, maybe. Jeez.
I think so.
Oh, could be. Yeah. Let me look that up.
Next, the last one is that Black relationships with the comic book medium are rarely shown in healthy and loving manner. Basically what we've been saying this whole time. And as Coates showed, this can be executed beautifully when a writer earnestly wants to showcase this. The end.
Hudlin did it first.
Coates did it better?
Getting them back together, but Hudlin did it first.
I'll give a lot of credit to Coates for trying to repair.
Right, exactly.
Repair the relationship and prepare what was going on.
But again, when people don't care, like Jordan D. White of the X-Men and everyone else who's been a part of them being separated, Vita Ayala. Who else? I'm the name that I can't rename right now because that trash. That there's a lot of people trying to stop it from happening, and for that reason, as much as I'd be happy for them being happily ever after, I'm so tired of this. Let's not return back to the T'Challa Storm thing. Some writer somewhere down the line or some editor somewhere down the line is going to decide this isn't for me. I'm just going to be like, all right, what a waste of pages. We've already had the breakup, the mend. What are we doing?
Right. They need, you know what? They need to be like the Reed and Sue for Black folks, because at the end of the day, you know Reed and Steel are going to be together. They were married. They've been married for 60 years of the comic books. There have been brief periods of time where Sue has gotten her feelings, whatever, and left, but she always finds her way back home. That needs to be the same situation for the two of them. There is no logical reason for them not to be together. And the way that it was done in Avengers versus X-Men made absolutely no sense whatsoever. It was completely stupid.
Why are the most destructive pages and things one little panel? Why are the most
panel?
What's all?
Yep.
But we gotta sit through Ewing's Black Panther run that we got right now. It's been 3 issues, still not the king, still a monarchy, still all this troublesome stuff. And I'm just like, all right.
Let her build. Let her build.
I hope she doesn't get canceled in all this time. I hope all the readers stick with it and are not like, no, I'm not paying money for this stuff. I hope so.
Get your pre-orders in. Get your pre-orders.
Exactly.
That's why it's important for
what
us.
are the numbers right now?
I'll talk about it.
Yeah,
it's important for us to talk about it, acknowledge it, and to push people towards it, because that way we don't have that canceling. We actually get someone who actually gets it, that we're going to get to that point.
I'm the guy saying save your money on all the other black characters at Marvel and concentrate all your dollars into Black Panther. It is more impactful for the success of this one series than it is to also have a pick us hero, Miles or a Blade or a who else is there? We had Photon at the time. Moon Girl, and hey, if you're trying to make them, I know you like them, and I get that, and I got why people would want to read these other comic books. But let's be real, the one with the less amount of ceiling is the Black Panther. So let's concentrate on getting that. If because you can vote more than once every single month. You can vote with a $4 comic book, and you get the variant and the other variant also, and you'd be doing. You can. It's just the fact. I like that mentality when it comes to purchasing at Marvel. I think I'm done. If they do announce like Luke Cage, Gang War, I'm good. I know the fate of Luke Cage. I've seen what he's been. When there's an actual push, when they did what they did with Bendis, right, where he was the leader of the Avengers, and if they coming out of that, they do a Luke Cage book after 10 years of that, I'll go, oh, they're behind Luke Cage. But I know that there is a dead end here with this character, so I'm not even bothering with that Luke Cage. But don't worry, I'll buy 2 Black Panthers that month because I know how to use my dollars. At least I think I know what I'm doing is the right thing.
I still like Blue Marvel. I'll like some more.
What's his status at the company though? Let's be real. Since 2008, where
has anyone done anything since you really the intergalactic empire of Wakanda? Since that's
with Blue Marvel?
Anything.
Nothing in self-title. I know what you're gonna say, Paul, but nothing with the title Blue Marvel has come out since.
No, there have been no Blue Marvel titles per se. He was in the Doctor Doom series.
Mm-hmm.
He was in most recently in the Defenders, where he was the main character. He led the team. He was the leader of the Defenders team.
Okay.
It had some good moments in it because you saw him basically go up against a lower G god and give him a right cross and basically destroyed them, which shows you how powerful Blue Marvel is. He has.
That's what I love. I love the power that he has. Like
yes, power. You know what's interesting is I found a book that he was in that I didn't know about. And I'm actually going to talk about it tonight. I'm interviewing Kevin Grievous tonight. If for those of you who don't know, the creator of Blue Marvel. The last book that Kevin Grievous did with Blue Marvel was a book actually called Fear Itself. I forget what particular issue it was, but there was a Fear Itself book, which is the last book that Kevin Grievous, the creator, wrote with Blue Marvel in it, and it talks about one of the criticisms people have of the character was how is it this character kind of just sat out the entire civil rights struggle because John Kennedy told him to, and sort of the fallout from that. So I thought that was kind of a cool
storyline was one of Marvel's cross-issue storylines like they've done with Siege or Civil War, whatever, and it was Thor-centric. Thor is my second favorite character, so I collected all those books, most of the books. I may not gotten Frontline or some of the ancillary titles, but I don't remember him being Blue Marvel in those books, so I'll have to go back and take a look because I do have.
Which of these comic books? Because Fear Itself had a whole bunch of spinoffs.
It was. Hold on, maybe if I can.
Fear Itself was the main title, and then because it was a cross-issue storyline, you have all of the other stuff that was there. So I'm not sure which one he made an appearance in.
Scroll back up a little bit. Monkey King, Youth and Revolt. It might have been that
that first one.
Fellowship of Fear, maybe. I think it might have been
The Fellowship of Fear.
Click on that one. Let me see what the cover is. No, that's not that one. No, it's not that one.
I mean, you can technically we can click on all of them, right?
I want to see this because I'm going
Fear
to get
itself.
that.
I feel like that's the thing called.
I have Fear itself, and I don't recall him being in that book.
No, there are a lot of different books.
It's the spin. Are you looking at the screen, Mark?
Yeah.
So at Fear itself had like 10.
Right.
Of all of these.
What about the Fearless? Click on that one. The Fearless.
No,
I don't think that was it. He's not on the cover of the book that I'm talking about.
Oh, he wasn't on the cover?
No, he wasn't.
That doesn't help. That's gonna take more time than we got.
Yeah, everyone.
It'll look. I'll have it on my show tonight. I don't remember off the top of my head. I just recently discovered this, and I was doing research for preparing for tonight.
Now that I look at what I have on CLZ, I have Fear Itself main title, Fear Itself Monkey King, and Fear Itself Homefront. I don't have any of the other stuff. That was one of my major issues with Marvel and their cross issue storylines because A, it was happening every year. B, it was a money grab. It didn't have the same impact doing it every year the way that Marvel Secret Wars did back in '85 when that first dropped. Or, over in the X titles, the Mutant Massacre and things of that nature.
Oh my god!
Hey, fellas, I gotta go. My family's calling me. I've got family in town, so I gotta. It was fun hanging out with y'all. Chillmonger, I really appreciate the invite. Always a pleasure to hang out with you guys and talk to you guys.
Tune in for that, man. Go tune in for that.
Yeah. I'll be on tonight.
I'll be tuning in because I want to know.
I'll be on tonight at 9 with Kevin Greavy. So hope you guys tune in and check us out. Take care.
Okay.
Homefront number 4.
That's exactly what came up.
Derek just gave you the answer. That's the issue. Go look that up.
I have that one.
All right. Take care, y'all.
All right.
Let's close out this back to the T'Challa thing with just a prediction, 30-second prediction of what's coming next, okay? So the final page does say showdown down there. It's what's going to come in episode 4, and issue 4 is going to be a showdown. I'm expecting a fight sequence that's going to be long because we haven't had long fighting this entire time. Remember the Hatuzuraze? Not the Hatuzuraze, the ones wearing the Hatuzuraze because they couldn't have been.
Yeah, they weren't. Yeah.
We remember seeing them, and we'll get longer fighting. That's just my prediction. Mark?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that he'll win.
Spoiler King?
He won't get knocked on his butt by a man on a buffalo.
Yeah.
I should think it will be one of those things that you see a lot of fighting, but it's going to be him countering and just trying to fill out who this person is and what he's going to do. Like I feel like he's going to still dominate the fight, but it's still going to be a longer fight because he's going to respect what's going on. But it's going to be a longer fight still.
D-Real?
The energy that T'Challa gave off at the end of the book to me is like, I'm not really sweating a deathlock because for you,
take care
T'Challa, I got extensive files on deathlocks and I know how to deal with deathlocks. My only thing, I hope the fight lasts longer than a couple pages.
Yeah.
Oh, it will. It should. And then there'll be like the sub fight while the fight's happening. There's also Natima Besa who's in her like disguise trying to figure out what's happening between the wedding, between the two families and stuff. We'll get answers there also. It's not going to be nothing.
She'll probably sneak off and do some spy espionage type stuff.
My name's Chillmonger. You can find me at Chillmonger. Your name is?
Mark, ATL Blurred on Twitter.
Spoiler Kings is?
Brian the Grizzly. I'm at part 1/3 of Spoiler Kings. Come check us out on Mondays and Thursdays.
Your man D-Real.
And it's your man D-Real coming at you with another one of them other ones. Be Real with D-Real. A lot of Black Panther based stuff. Check it out.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks.